this thing actually working? Good evening, good afternoon, everything to everyone. It's Mike Verda. Hey, it's been a while since I was ever on the air, even on the air. Let me know if this is working, because the whole thing was not working. Like I went back and did like a configure YouTube thing in my streamer, and it was all just didn't work. So I don't have any idea if this actually works. But if it does, let me know in our chat roll. That's assuming you have a chat roll. May not have a chat roll. So yeah, again, if you guys can actually hear me and see me and all that, I have to check because it doesn't work 2 days in a row. Hey, somebody got his piano tuned. Hey, I did. You're right. I actually did. Man, do you have that good an ear? Because I hardly played anything. I did. Yeah, man, that's impressive if that's true. Yeah, people have been asking, like, oh, are you doing any more live shows or what are you doing? And, I'd like to. It's been busy, super busy. And yeah, actually, here's the thing, though, is that my little tricked out setup here is only in Los Angeles, and I'm not in Los Angeles that much or regularly anymore. So mic audio is repeating. It is? Really? Is that true? Well, if you let me know if there's any kind of, let's see what else you got here. Yeah, let me know if anybody else is having issues. Anyway, yeah, I don't have, so my piano down in Florida doesn't have MIDI. This is a disc clavier, so I can't do like the fancy on-screen stuff from down there. So I was like, well, can I do it? Can I do my live streams without that? I don't really, because people use that a lot. But I don't know, maybe there's a way to work it out. Miking up the piano, it actually has mics on it. It's got mics on it, and so I could put this camera on it down there, and we've got internet, so technically I could do it, but we wouldn't be able to do the on-screen piano thing. So eventually I'll pull up the last of the tent stakes here in LA and bring it down to Florida, and then we can do all this. But can I make the video available to watch afterwards? I can. Oh yeah, people were asking me about that. They were asking, because a lot of the videos disappeared from the channel. The Uncle Bourbon stuff mostly, or like any of the political rants or whatever, all that nonsense that I do. And they disappeared. It was voluntarily. I got all kinds of shit. I get all kinds of shit. Because if you speak your mind and you don't toe the line, you get shit, which you're supposed to. Turns out, just that's a life thing. If too many people like you, you're not doing anything significant. That's a good rule of thumb. So I just turned all that shit off so I wouldn't get all the notices, and then a bunch of people asked if I'd turn it back on. So I made a little playlist for the Uncle Bourbon stuff, and not that I have anything new to say. Nothing's changed in a year. Everybody's still walking around with their muzzles on. Not where I live. Life's been normal the whole time. Everybody's been living, so it's been nice. But I come back to LA, and it's like it's like entering some dystopian, some weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. I get off the plane in LA, and it's like, what the fuck? What's wrong with everybody? Then I go home, and it's all kids are everything's normal. So anyway. So did I get shit from YouTube? Yeah, I got shit from all kinds of people. But yeah, I got like warnings about whatever. But anyway, it's YouTube, it's Google, man. It's Big Brother, it's the machine, right? So what do you expect? And I dumped all my social media. I don't think I made any official announcements. Oh, maybe Twitter. I couldn't be on Twitter anymore. You just can't, you can't care about people, especially as a musician or an artist. As an artist, we have to care about the ability to express. In fact, if you're going to be a good artist, you should be deliberately exploring the underbelly, right? We should be in all the most sensitive places, helping to cathartically explore them and get them out and go places that people are afraid to go. And if you're a musician, you do that with music in ways that words can't. So when you've got platforms that are so blatantly and offensively, anti-expression. If you're just not if you don't happen to align with whatever the propaganda of the day is, you can't. I don't know how you could be a part of that. I mean, I couldn't. So I dumped Twitter. Well, I'm not on Facebook. Instagram is Facebook, so I just stopped using Instagram. I don't think I made any announcement. I just stopped. And I don't use YouTube very much. It's basically not a lot of social media. I tried a couple of the other ones. One of them was super, super, super churchy. I can't remember which one it was. It was like real churchy, which, I mean, that's fine. It's just not my thing. And so I went on that one. I was on Parlor for a short period of time, but I don't think there is a Parlor anymore. Or if it was, it's something else. Oh, so I was trying this other one, MeWe, I think it's called, which is the worst ever horrible name ever, and it just makes me, I can't look at it very much. It had like rainbows and shit on it, but I've done a couple posts there just because it looks like you can just kind of say what you're going to say and people leave you alone. And I think there's also, you can make groups and stuff. It seemed like a better one. So if I'm anywhere on social media, it would be MeWe. God, it's so bad. But in general, man, less social media, right? And more just living. So is my mic drop app out there? No, not yet. That's so expensive. I just haven't. I've been you have to figure, like we all have to do. You have X amount of money and you have to figure out where to spend it, right? And I want to develop the apps. Big, ridiculous chunks of money to do apps. Huge, giant, 6-figure, 7-figure. What the hell? It's crazy. Which, I mean, is fine, except that, now we've been setting up our new house and I've been tricking it out. Oh, one thing I did spend money on. I bought a B3, a legit 1965, we're not sure, we're looking it up. Right now, B3 is so beautiful. It's ebony, hardly ever see them, ebony. And with a big ebony custom Leslie 122A. And it's at a place right now in Sanford, Florida, which is about an hour from my house, called Keyboard Exchange. Jim Huss down there, he's got a YouTube video. They're like the place to go for B3 places. And this B3 originally was all like repaired and restored there. Then it went to this guy who turned out to be a friend of a friend. He was selling it. So I am so fucking psyched about that. I want to do videos on that, like just legit B3 stuff. So Hammond B3, she's so pretty. And she's going to go in the house in Florida, right? Now, like we're setting up a thing, right? So the piano, and then they have an organ. And then just to complete it, I'm going to put like a Ludwig Bonham kit in there, just have little trio stuff. Draco and I are going to play. So I want to do some stuff on it because it's just it's so sexy. I've played all the VSTs, all the, every organ that you can get, and none of them are even close to this thing. She's so badass. So I'm really excited about that. Let's see. I was listening to the Brave Storm music the other day. I'm really looking forward to new music you're going to make. Thank you, man. I really enjoy listening to your piece. Hammond B3, I mean, and it's a different beast, man. If you're a keyboard player, just because it's got keyboards on it, that don't make it you're not ready. I'm not ready. I'm a newbie. I don't know the foot pedals. I'm not an organ player. So I'm looking forward to being, and that happened. I played this gig a couple of years ago, and we did a lot of like vintage tunes, and they had a lot of like, B3 stuff in it. And so I sort of faked my way through with one of those Korg CX3s, I think it was. CX3, yeah. Anyway, I just dug it. I dug the whole thing, and I dug the fact that I didn't really know, like I was just, I haven't been a newbie behind a keyboard in like 40 years. So I liked the feeling of not really knowing what I was doing. And so I said to my now wife, if you don't know, Miss Love and I are married now. And, I said, man, I want to get into organ. I want to do like the next chapter of my like player life. I want to really learn how to do proper legit Hammond stuff. And we just put that out in the universe. And I think it took 3 years, but Yeah, man. Upcoming video will probably be, if nothing else, me just gloating over this. It's so awesome, so awesome. Yeah, little B3. So you cannot capture that. I mean, you can get close or something, or maybe you can't tell, but the real thing has a thing, man. It's got a thing. So my buddy wants me to do an album of all like trio stuff, like B3, and I'm like, yeah, we should do that, brass and B3. So yeah, man. Yeah, so we're gonna do that. Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Somebody said I need a clavinet. Well, that was my dream, Mike, is that because this is old school, is you have the piano and you've got the B3 and then one really good Rhodes. Yeah, you can do a clavinet. I played a real clavinet a bunch. It's fun. And I dig that. I like all that. I like playing like that. That's all that fun shit. That's clavinet stuff. But I just, but like a really good Rhodes. I like to have all that out there. So anyway, it's all this shit's expensive. That's the short version of why the app's not out yet. So I bought my wife a car. You know, there's kind of wedding, ring, car. We needed one. It's not like I felt obligated, but I sort of did. So I had to get a nice car. Anyway, so it's just hemorrhaging money at the Verda household. That's all right. Just make more. Anyway, so yes. Yeah, welcome back to Florida. I love Florida. I'm so great. I mean, like I said, it's a really unique experience going back and forth from Florida to Los Angeles. It's just two different versions of how you get to live your life. I mean, assuming you let people tell you how you can live your life, which I don't. So I just have fewer fights in Florida. Plus, it's like this thing happens, right? I fill up my tank in Florida, and it's like 2:19. I come back to Los Angeles. What the fuck? How is it 5:40? Anyway. Yeah, we used to look down on organs in the 80s. You know, I was a synth kid. We grew up, it was synths. And so it was like, organs. And so there was like a thing about that. And now I just have so much respect for it. So yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to that. And you could play B3, like you can, there's ways to play it, and then there's ways to play it. You can do lots of cool stuff on it, real cool stuff. You can also play just like the nightmare, like the equivalent of Muzak. You can do that. But I'm looking forward to pedals, and what's cool is that Draco's going to learn it. Yeah, I'm going to learn it at the same time. So he's going to know that axe right off the bat, which is cool. And he's been playing so much. So I'm just all selfish. I just want to play duets with my kid, you know what I mean? But anyway, so hope everybody's good. In the B3 series, you should play the whole Bananas album by Deep Purple. Yeah. 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 I've had a number of thoughts. There's a number of things that I was going to do videos about, and then I was never near my setup, But I hope everybody's good. I don't know. I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were just, in that way that we're not old enough to be like this, but we sound like old dudes on the fucking porch. In Mayday, we sound like that, even though we're not 50. Even, but just talking about the fact that, we don't hear kids playing music in garages anymore, like zero. I can't remember the last time. I heard that all the time growing up. And so I was just thinking about, wow, I wonder if there are people out there struggling for, people to look up to, players to look up to if you want to play. Are you finding that on YouTube? Are there great players that you're watching on YouTube, modern people, if it's not in the neighborhood anymore? I was sort of wondering about that. The last gig I went to before lockdown was a jazz quartet with a real B3. A local pub gig. See, that just sounds like heaven to me, man. Sounds like heaven. Yeah, I mean, it's like those gigs, like like any live gig now seems like such a, oh, that's right, people aren't allowed to go places. Okay, well, assuming you weren't allowed to go places, um, you know, like just live music, small group things, it's like such a, you better do that while you can, man. That's all I'm saying. So Joey Alexander, I don't know, but just as long, I just want to make sure that you know, anybody who wants to be playing has, because we all had that, right, when we were growing up. Like you could name, almost anybody could name a favorite musician, like who actually played an instrument, not like a DJ or any of this shit, like a real like musician, like, you know, like even if it was a douche, even if it was the Bono or the Edge, you know what I mean? The guy could actually play. It wasn't technically not a player; he's a player, you know. So like, and people could name, well, I like this guitarist, I like this drummer. People had drummers, like lots of chicks had drummers that they liked, or keyboard players, and they weren't talking about names. They were talking about actual musicians. Like if you just had them in front of a keyboard, they could actually play. You know what I mean? That, and I don't know that I don't think kids now have that at all, which is fucking tragic. So I'm just like, what do they do? Oh, Jacob Collier, yeah. I had a prog metal band, and there are definitely good bands out there now, guys. That's good. That's all, you know, I mean, that's good. Just so long as people have, you know, that too. I mean, there's 8 billion people. So of course there's some group, you know, in Sweden or whatever that's got some crazy prog band, but it's not, you know, it's just not like it used to be, where it's commonplace that there were musicians and bands and stuff. And that's terrible. But anyway, so, but yeah, I mean, because, you know, we listen to, Draco listens to all kinds of stuff, and it's all from way before he was born, some of it from before I was born. You know, and he's, so his little time capsule experience, you know, is every bit as viable now as it would have been then. But then if he goes to try to be like, okay, what's on today? He's just like, what the hell? I'm like, don't even get me started. How am I doing? I'm doing great. It's been great. You know, I like I said, I mean, not to go there, but you know, 2020 was a great year. It was just like great. It was great. We got our place set up, and I got married, and our little business we started. My buddy has had a banner first year and all that stuff, and I've gone through all kinds of cycles about the way that the whole COVID thing has gone. I'm like mostly frustrated on people's behalf, but I haven't gotten the memo on any of that, because life is way too fragile, too precious to me. Like I have a thing, I mean, where I can tell if I had 1,000 years, I couldn't do all the stuff I want to do, all the stuff I want to learn. Like I'm going to run out of time. I've always felt like that. I'm not even technically like halfway. Is 50 halfway? So I've always had this feeling like every single day is an opportunity, and you got to live the shit out of it. You got to do everything, because it's amazing to be alive. And so I can imagine what it would take for somebody to get me to give up my life. I mean, the reason you'd have to, like, it's just, I can't even conceive of it. So you know, I didn't stop for the moving goalpost hypocritical shit. I'm not gonna stop for that. That's, you know, we're healthy, strong. We don't live in fear. We don't need medicine or experimental gene therapy drugs. We don't, we're fine. Our immune systems eat those COVIDs for breakfast. We're okay. We're fine. So we just keep living. And so I just felt terrible about, like, some people, their whole lives just like gone. Like they just let somebody take it from them. So that's where I am mostly now, just with tremendous amounts of empathy for people who are just sitting around waiting for instructions for when they can get back to their life. I can't take it, motherfucker, and take it with weapons when you're not getting it. What are you talking about? Especially for those of us who are musicians, where life experience is what we talk about through our art. There are no boring people who make good music or any good art. So if you've stopped living, like, you've stopped, what could you have to say unless you're talking about what it's like to be locked in your home? But how much, everybody be telling that story. That's going to be over in a month, let alone a year. But so strange to me when people talk about how much they value life, but they seem to not value their own at all, such that they'd let these hypocritical vermin take it away from them. Like, and didn't even get people angry, especially like here in California. An owner was like, okay, well, you have to close your business, but their businesses were open, and you have to wear masks, and they weren't wearing masks, or like, just how people didn't get so angry about that. But anyway, like I said, so it's been great. We've been doing great, and you know, I mean, there's plenty. Two people died in our family, and the worst part about it, I mean, dead is bad, is that we couldn't be with either of them when they died because of all this shit. They died alone, surrounded by strangers. I feel like there's a special circle in hell they're trenching it out now for the people who got in the way of that moment for people for no really good reason. That's my own little dark fantasy, is that somewhere someone's going to pay the price for that people. My grandmother would live to 96, 7, like this life full of experiences, all this stuff, and nobody was with her. Nobody could be with her for no reason. That didn't seem right. It wasn't right. My wife's mother was one too. But anyway, so yeah, at this point, I just, you know, I visit California and I see everybody afraid and just, I mean, I think it's like, well, if I just do everything that I'm told, if I just do it, maybe I'll be able to live again. Like, it's this weird, like I said, and then I go home and Florida, it's the opposite. It's just the opposite. It's just like the opposite. And that's the only way I can say it. People are living and they're like life. And so I think if I was here all the time, I don't even know what kind of headspace I'd be in. I'd be in the news by now, I think. But anyway, if you need new inspirations, as a musician, search for Open Studio. Great jazz teachers, good. I mean, yeah, man, there's skills out there and there's inspiring people, and I hope we use our technology. I mean, especially if you're locked at home or whatever. Are people actually still locked at home? Do they do that still? But I hope that people are still able to find, like, so that their musical life can continue at least. Yeah, I mean, because at some point, if nobody teaches it, if nobody passes it on, that's how stuff disappears. And that's what we ultimately don't want. They took it out of schools, they took it out of institutions, they took it out of society, more or less. Like, nobody's going to, there's no new Beethovens or ever, but there is still Beethoven. So you can still learn and you can still, be inspired by it. So, yeah, man, that's cool. That's what I like to hear. I haven't been able to, my monitor's way far away, just in case you want to watch. Take me a second. Fly to my girlfriend for over a year. I can't believe it's legal to allow that to happen. Well, you have to remember something too. I've been talking to Draco about this a lot. Like, you have to understand that any law, anything, I mean, that goes out, it only exists if people agree to go along with it. I mean, that's so when you look at like what's legal or what's not legal, you always have to remember is it enforceable or not? I mean, I don't care what you're talking about. You want to talk about mask rules? If everybody just went up tomorrow and went, yeah, it's enough of that shit, that would be over. There's nothing anybody could do. We're going to business. We're going back to work. Yeah, we're going back to work. I'm sick of struggling with my bills. This is all stupid. They could all go back. That would be it. Because there's like, at least in this country, there's 330 million people. And there's like 500 people in government. And the police aren't going to be able to arrest everybody. You can't arrest 300 million people. So just all get together and just, fuck you. And then it would be over. So when you say it's legal, it's like, you know what? Legal or illegal doesn't matter. The question is, the bigger question is, why do people allow themselves to be disenfranchised? That's the real question. So that this way you don't keep looking at your life, your freedoms, your one short, tiny, short little blip that you get on this planet that's so precious that you don't look at that as being at the behest of somebody, some like better, some your superior, who can tell you when you can live and when you can't. Like, they're just another chunk of carbon. You know what I mean? They're not like this. There's no real such thing as authority. That's not even really a thing. That's just something people agree to. Oh, he's more important. He gets to park here and I don't. Like, but he's not actually superior. You know what I mean? He's just made out of the same handful of elements. So that's it. So somewhere I think it's good to just keep remembering whatever we have is what we're accepting. as people. No matter where you are, in a relationship, in a job, in your career, as a citizen, you live the life you accept. And if you allow people to bully you or tell you or whatever, then that's kind of on you, not on them. Because I think from an alpha male kind of standpoint, yeah, if you can get the whole world to bend to your will, like, good luck. Go, like, why wouldn't you? You know, just all you move. Hey, okay, he said to move, so we move. Like, that's great. If you can get away with that, do that. But then the idea would be that people would be like, no, who are you? And I'm an authority. I have a white coat. Move, you know. And then, yeah, fuck you. And then that would be it. That would be the end of it. But if you can get people to do whatever you want, just bend to your will, and there is no free will, there's only your will, that's great. Do that. Why would you not do that? Obviously, governments have responsibility for lives of its and that's all that thing. Not in America. I mean, I think Europeans maybe have a different. They don't have the expectation of individual freedom. So there's like, well, obviously we have to be told what to do. Americans, the American. And there's not many of us left, but American spirit is just like, no, really, the government's only job is to protect our freedom. We don't need to be led. You don't need to be told what to do. I know how I want to live my life. It's up to me. I get to decide, just however I want, as much as I can get away with, and you just protect my right to get away with as much as I possibly can. That's what our Constitution's about. That's the idea. Whatever the maximal amount of individual freedom is, right up to the point to where, right, that it impacts and starts to erode somebody else's life, and even that can become market forces. But yeah, but you know, then at the point where, you know, where you wake up in the morning and it's like, I better check on what the government says I can do today. That's, if nothing else, that's the whole reason America was created, was to avoid that. So the government was not really a part of your life. It was not. They don't giveth and taketh away. That's sort of the, you know. And so in this country, when you got, this is why you have such, you know, discrepancies between Florida and California, and why people are fleeing all those California and New York, and they're coming to Florida. Holy shit, they are coming. I mean, the real estate prices where we moved to in Florida, it's like every day we check the Zillow and a couple of the other real estates. Every day the price adjustments go up. They're going up. We're watching. We've watched the price of land and homes just keep going up because people are coming in. And when I come to Los Angeles every, you know, whenever it is, it's just like the number of for lease signs keeps multiplying. They're just fleeing. And you know, and their reason they're going to those places is because those are the places where you know, people are more inclined to have less people telling them what to do. That's just what it is. I mean, and people who don't agree with that don't move there. But so many people are moving. It's crazy. So, but whatever. Takes all kinds to make a world, and we've been Texas too. My whole family left Chicago, left Illinois, and went to Texas. Somebody said I tuned into you to escape all of this shit. You know, it's funny. Because I had no intention of saying anything about that, and I'm with you. This stuff doesn't, you know. But I think to your point there, you know, there's kind of as much or little of this as you want. If you don't use social media, and I don't use social media anymore, basically, and I never watched the news. I haven't watched the news in 30 some years, not since I worked on it. So I do not watch the news of any kind. I don't look at it. I don't look at the news. There is no news. It's except for what you can't avoid because you're in the airport. I can't. The greatest quality of life hack I can imagine is turn it all off. Just all of it. Just off. Not a little, like off. Just off. And then you can fill your brain with all the other great stuff. And it turns out it's just a big fucking propaganda circus anyway. So when you say to get away from this shit, I was going to say, oh my God, you can get away from it right now. I live in Europe and my girlfriend is American. I have no power but to accept the travel ban. Oh yeah, no, I have, look, I have a friend who's been trapped in Turkey his whole life. He can't leave Turkey. Some people are trapped places. But then again, if everybody in the country was, fuck this, we're leaving, and then, we could all work it out. There's way more of us than there is of them. Anyway, so my advice to you is if you're stressed out by everything going on in the world, just turn off all that shit. I just got the notification. Happy to see you again. Greetings from Greece. Hey, Greece weighing in. How you doing, man? Why no Unleashed this year? Honestly, it's just been a scheduling thing. Because like I said, I have to let you know ahead of time about Unleashed. I have to let you know when it's going to be. And that would mean I would have to know when I'm back in Los Angeles. And so far, I have not been in Los Angeles at regular intervals. So I couldn't have worked it out. I just would be guessing. And I'm not getting on a plane for you guys just to come back and sit for 17 hours and listen to your music. I love you, but there's a line. So we should do that, and we're going to do it. And I actually wrote the script for the, I do an announcement video where I say we're doing Unleashed. I write a little script for that and just sort of go over it in my head because I have to cover a lot of shit. And I already did that. Somewhere I've got it. It's on one of the computers. And it was talking about how it's all piano this year. It's just piano, a two-handed playable piano. And you don't have to play well, but it has to be something a human being could play. Slow your sequencer down and do it as slowly as you need to. But we'll find out how much music is in your music that way. And I think that'll cut down on the submissions by an awful lot, but it'll also make how useful it is go way, way up. Have I ever considered making a master class? But for 34? Wait. In the same style as your composition master classes. I love your making a but for what do you mean? Explain that. Or am I just not seeing that because the screen is so far away? I'm dozing off. Oh, well, get your rest. They could all chip in for your plane ticket. I fly enough now, though, that I know at least a couple of the crews, and they just hit me with the Jack Daniels right as soon as I got on the plane, so it's good. What was the next Unleashed? Piano pieces only. Well, it was going to be because like I said, I've been teaching Draco, music, and when you don't have to worry about the sounds or the production, then all you're left with is the actual harmonic development, the actual story that's in your music, the actual story that's being told. And if you find out that when you turn off all of the sounds, there's no story there, then there's no story there. And in order for us to have maximum control over our music and thus maybe our lives, or if nothing else, if being able to be the best communicators musically, we have to have something to say and be able to say it. And it's just the most brutal way of finding out that you have nothing to say, is you take all the sounds out of it. Because all these great, huge pieces for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, have been played just on simple instruments where the sound wasn't really the thing of it. Maybe rhythm-based stuff, African stuff might be the exception. That's about texture and tone, but even then, there's structure. So if it doesn't work on the piano, if it's not, then you're trapped in the world of sounds, and you probably aren't doing a lot of music. Because you can do huge, giant pieces, any huge thing you can imagine, epic, huge stuff, can all be played on piano. From Star Wars to Rite of Spring to just anything. Four C interludes, any huge piece, there's a piano version of it that totally gets the idea across. And that's how they were written. So there's ancillary benefits. If you can write purely on piano, you're way faster, just in terms of getting the music together. And then you can take as much time with the sounds as you want. So, yeah. Any tips for making D minor interesting again? Yeah. Do D flat minor. I talked about this in one of my classes where when you're writing in a key you're not comfortable with, you get muscle memory and you get shapes memory. Draco's been experiencing this. You play in a key that you're really used to, and you just know where the shapes are. And so you'll fall into the same patterns. And funny enough, just moving it a half step one way or the other will now break all of your familiar, comfort zone places. And you will often find things which you wouldn't have discovered. If you go a third or a fourth away, now you can be in a whole different world of ideas. Writing in keys you're not comfortable with most people don't write in B and they don't write in F sharp. They don't do that for a while. It'll be frustrating at first, but it also will give you some opportunity to see things you might not have seen before. And that crosses with this other idea that I believe in so strongly, which is just the physical interaction with the piano. I've been teaching Draco about being lazy, just lazy with his voicings. You want to move your hands and your fingers as little as possible because they're lazy, and it automatically teaches you good voice leading. If you're always looking for the most efficient way from point A to point B with a tonality or a resolution, you're always looking for the one that just, I don't want to move my fingers. Good. You'll probably find the most efficient way, and now your voice leading is going to be good inherently. So stuff like that is good. It's all this, yeah. So sad key. Just simple lines intertwining. Good key. Can you do a Doggie Biscuit story with music live again in the composition tips? Like you liked that one, like doing a story thing? Yeah, we could do something like that. I've written every single song of mine after I started to play piano. Oh, sure. It was the rule for myself. From here on, I will not write any songs that I cannot play. Look, we talk about this all the time. It's very different. It's very different to have the ability to do something and choose to not do it than to not be able to make other choices because you don't have the ability. One has control and one does not. One has skill and craft and the other does not. Why would we ever advocate for ourselves to not have skill and control? Why would we do that? I don't understand. Then you're boxed into whatever, and now you're subject to trends. Tons of people right now, if you turned off, this is a good, if they turned off all the power, which I don't know why they wouldn't do that, because they could do that. Evidently, people would be fine with that. Then could you still write music and be a musician? If you can play piano, if you're actually writing, then you can. A musician, an actual skilled and crafted musician, could go in a time machine to any place in history and have a job. In fact, the exact same job. That's a good sign. That's a good thing. I can see this thing is flying, so I might be missing. Back in the old days, singers would rehearse with just a single piano. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, accompanist. That was a job. You could pay your bills being, I'm an accompanist. You just on Broadway, just playing all the tunes. And you just play all day. Oh, thank you. Let's do all this Roger and Hammerstein shit. Let's see. I can play whatever comes into my head with a lot of ease these days. And it feels empowering. Of course it's empowering. And in fact, that's the thing. And I have been talking about doing a series of teaching music, not teaching piano, but teaching music, how to actually speak the language of music. Because it's occurred to me many times over the last almost decade that there should not be any such thing as a player who's not also a composer. Because if you get a piece of music and you just play the piece of music, that doesn't mean you have any understanding of the music. You're just repeating the words that somebody else has said. It's like if you didn't speak Chinese, you could learn to phonetically say a Chinese sentence, but you'd have no idea what you were saying. And even if you learned to say it and you had the perfect inflection, you sounded like a native Chinese speaker, you still wouldn't know what you're talking about. And you would not be able to communicate your own ideas in Chinese. That doesn't count as speaking Chinese. And if you merely play music that's written down, it doesn't mean you know what's going on. You're just repeating it. And so it can never really be your own. Think about Shakespeare. no two actors do a soliloquy in Shakespeare the same way because they understand what he's saying. In fact, they spend years studying what he was saying and what the meaning might be. And if they know what the meaning is, then they can think about their own interpretation and where they might change the stress or where, and they're not even changing the words. They might suggest other meanings or subtexts or put accents or stresses different places. They make it their own, even without changing the words, because they have an understanding of it. And if you did not know what you were actually saying, you couldn't possibly have control over that. So to be just playing music, you'll see these things. I can teach you to play piano in 5 minutes. That's like, yeah, you can teach people to push the buttons in the right order, but you can teach an animal to push buttons in the right order. That doesn't empower us as musicians. But to be able to speak the language of music, to have ideas, to communicate, which is the point. To be able to communicate ideas and emotions and life experiences to people in ways that words can't. That's the goal. But in order to do that, you have to be able to speak the language. And of course, we talk about in some of the composition courses, everybody speaks a little bit of music. That's why when you play a 1-4-5 progression, people who are not musicians know what the next word is. And they have a feeling for what it is you're intending to say with that. It's why that works, is because it is a language, and like any other form of language, if you keep hearing the same things over and over again, you gain an understanding of it. So, but we don't teach music like that. I wasn't taught like that. And there's always been this idea that, well, there's playing music, but then there's writing music. And the truth is, if you actually speak music, then you speak music. Then you can sit down and write. And when you have an idea, you can express it a bunch of different ways. And the more vocabulary you have, the more ways that you can express it. And then with that understanding, if you play somebody else's piece, that is, if you're going to read their words back, you can still put your own thing on it because you know what he's talking about. You know exactly what they're saying. You speak the language. And so maybe you might think, you know what, I see what he's saying. He's saying this. And but he could have said it like this, and this would have been cleverer and more fun. Same idea, but it could have, now it's yours. So you know, so I've been thinking about doing this series on framing an understanding of music in that way, because that separation is artificial, and I've been doing it for Draco that way. And I'm just watching how much it accelerates his ability to learn to play music, because he's already learning to speak it. So he's not just taking it for granted. And so he's been playing a lot of Billy Joel. He likes Billy Joel. He loves Billy Joel stuff. Okay, his mom, it's her favorite band. I'm sure that has something. I'm sure that has something to do with it. So I've been teaching him this stuff, and he's been discovering all of the stuff that would be in the composition if you were Billy Joel and you're writing it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go here. If I'm here, I'm going to go here. It's comfortable on my hand, and it moves it from this to that, and no chord progression, no motion. He's learning pressure right now. I mean, that's the essence of the. Well, if you understand, so it's that progression. Well, then, and you know what that means, and you've seen it, and you recognize it. Well, then, as it shows up in other ways in the piece, you're connected to it automatically. You can start to make predictive guesses about what it would be. It helps with transcription, So in fact, like just as an example, because he's been doing stuff, we were looking at, he's learning some of Superman March, and he was looking at Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we were doing this, he was learning pressure, and he got to this part where it goes, and he did this, and he said, that's just like Superman. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. You're going to find that chord and that voicing all over. It's comfortable underneath the hands, and it's got that major seventh biting in it. And so for him, that little realization, that connection that he makes on his own, makes the world of music so much simpler and so much more accessible, because he has an understanding of it. It's not just a collection of, I don't know, I'm just pushing these keys. But it's about speaking the language. That's inspiring. and empowering. So I'm thinking about talking about that. Um, but how to break, was that is that 1-6? It's a long way away. 1-6-4-5 improv progression. Yeah, well, you listen to more stuff. Although, I mean, his first tune, he's been writing tunes. I've just been saying, well, let's do 1-4-5s for now. Because first of all, you should be able to do that. But then, the more you listen, the more ideas you have the more vocabulary words you learn. Do you think Disney is contractually obligated by Lucas to never release the theatrical cut? Oh, of the OT? Oh, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I mean, my hope is, look, as having spent no shortage of energy and time on that original, my hope is for enough time to go by that people consider it so totally irrelevant that nobody cares, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, put that out. Nobody cares anymore, and then you get it. I think that's opposite. I think it's a fucking cash register. If I could finish my restoration with the materials that are surviving, and it would be a Star Wars like nobody had ever seen ever, not even in '77 by a mile, I think it would be an entirely new experience for people, and I think it would just sit around all day, and just trucks would back up and dial bags of money would come in, but I don't run Disney. To be in control of your craft doesn't mean to be the best player out there. No, not at all. It means to have control of what you need to do. Yeah, being a player, I mean, and when being a truly accomplished player, I mean, obviously that helps. You can express some ideas. But even if you're not a truly accomplished player, you can work out a run. You can write that down and then let the guy go, I can't do that, but he can. That's a great part about writing for orchestras. 99% of the stuff that I write, I can't play. I'm not a horn player or a violinist. I can't play violin. I can write for it. I can make it do all kinds of things. Let's talk about empowering. Yeah. So somebody said the Copeland chord. Yeah, Copeland has probably got the ninth in it. And if you really want to Copeland it, you put it over the third. You just keep Copeland, you just keep adding. Billy Joel is still my best concert experience. A lot of people say that, yeah. Hey, Mike, do you have any thoughts on composing, orchestrating, if one's primary instrument is a synthesizer? Yeah. I mean... Yeah. I mean, a synthesizer is just a keyboard, right? You just pull up a piano sound. You know what I mean? I mean, that would be my advice. Because again, there's this sounds will inspire their own thing. I could attest to that. That's why we would preset hunt on new synths when they would come out in the 80s. We'd preset hunt, because a preset might inspire a whole thing. But what's a little disingenuous even about that statement is nobody that I know who was preset hunting wasn't already a player. They're already a musician. And I think it's very different to put a tool in the hand of somebody, to put a new tool in the hand of somebody who can use the old tool than to put the new tool in the hand of somebody who doesn't really understand how to do the task in the first place. So, but like I said, certainly that's why we want to do in Unleashed, why we want to do the piano only, is because you can't hide, and if you're like, but this would be way cooler though, because it goes like well, I can't do it, but it goes, it's like, and then it goes, but it's like fucking it's so great, and then it it goes on and goes on and goes on. It makes all the stuff, and then it goes, and okay, brother. So there's no music in your music. If that's where you find yourself, and you're like, oh shit, I'm not saying anything. So being able to say all of that stuff, and then deciding to just let a filter sweep run your life for a few minutes, is a completely different thing than not being able to say anything and just being like, what new sound do I have? You're really not that much in control, and you don't have much of a story to tell. And now anybody can do it, and they kind of do. What was the last good movie that I saw? I mean, what do you mean? We watch great movies all the time. They're older ones. We were watching, my wife and I went on a Pacino binge. Watched all Pacino movies for like 2 days. It was Serpico and Dog Day Afternoon or whatever it was, and because like, I mean, we saw, you know, what else? I mean, it's all of them. The Godfather, and we didn't watch so much like Scent of a Woman, or Heat, because we know those. We were watching all these Pacino movies. Those were all good. I mean, like new movies that are good. I don't know. I haven't seen a movie in a long, long time. Really, I mean, I don't know. I can't even think. You know, like, I don't know, like, what's the last, like we were talking about, these are all the things you don't hear. You don't hear memorable movie themes or memorable movie quotes anymore from like recent movies. That was a thing. Everybody had quotes and themes from movies, and nobody has that anymore. So I listen to all stuff that all has, oh, I was speaking of Pacino. God, the weirdest movie. It is so tonally confused, but it's actually good. And I think it's called And Justice for All. It's this, I would recommend go seeing it. It is the most tonally confused movie I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't know whether it wants to be like wacky, lighthearted 70s comedy or like super depressing 1970s gritty courtroom drama. It's so confused. But Al Pacino's great in it, and it's actually a really good movie. You just have to go through it. It's a good movie though. Am I breaking rules mentioning anything 3D related in today's stream? No, man. I do all that shit. I do all kinds of 3D and stuff, and I go back and forth, and we're my company that I have with my partner John Lehman. When we're, so this is like this little damage on my hand is from pouring concrete footer. That's because we're doing these giant sculptures for this new development that's being built, and John sculpted these amazing things. They're all going to be automotive finish with these fish scales on them and lights on the inside. Anyway, so so we were out there pouring the footers for it, and then the back in my world, I'm doing a lot of CAD work because we're doing a restoration of this model of Disneyland. We still have an Instagram channel for Layman Verta, Laymon, and you can see updates on that. That's all me doing all the CAD work there. So yeah, that's relevant. And the other thing is too, I'm almost 2 years into training heavily on firearms because I want to shoot competitively, and I'm going to be shooting my first competition this year. So I have a whole series of videos I want to do on that because it's still early enough, even though I've been just OCD about firearm training because that's just how I am. That's all I do. I shoot all the time now. I always order thousands and thousands of rounds. We have a whole arsenal of guns now. I just want to shoot. Just do it right. But I'm still close enough to newbie that I remember what it's like when you first start shooting and how it's nothing like you expect at all. And nobody talks about it because I guess you don't think you need it. But I remember I was about a year into, just regular training and thinking, man, I already know like 10 things I wish somebody had said to me when I first started, and nobody talks about them. And so I have a series of those I want to do. So I do all kinds of stuff so you can bring up anything. This year's Oscar movies were pretty good. Were they? All right. Wait, any rules? Oh, yeah, you're not breaking any rules. Oh, yeah. Basil Polidorus. Conan the Barbarian. Anybody? Mike? Yeah. Such great stuff. Yeah, we're going to do that. I'm just not telling you when. It's going to be a surprise. Okay, just because I made a few attempts asking whether you planned or entertained the thought of creating a masterclass for anything and everything 3D related. Oh, yeah. I mean, although what's interesting, too, with 3D, I was trained as a generalist because it was the early days of 3D. I just like synthesizers, I came up with CGI. Like when it was in its infancy, I was in my infancy with it. And so we were generalists in the beginning. We had to learn to do everything. It's very compartmentalized now, but back then it was whatever version of particle stuff there was, we had to do. Whatever version of modeling and animation and compositing, all the view painting and texture stuff, all that, you sort of had to do it all. And we did do it all, which ended up being, of course, really, really useful. But as it has become increasingly compartmentalized, you still end up in that situation where the left hand and the right hand don't know what each other is doing, and they don't always work together in service of anything particularly interesting. Because so often now people just want effects without it being motivated for any reason. So in teaching Draco 3D, Draco did his first rotoscoping gig about a couple of weeks ago, poor kid. He was doing one of those, they call them clone trail videos. It's not the correct term, but you've seen it, like where the guy walks into a version of himself and then the game thing continues and it goes over here and there's like already a version of something he's going to do in the future and he joins up with it and all that. Well, that's a big camera tracking rotoscoping gig. But I was like, well, visual effects always has this annoying underbelly where you have to do some grunt work in order to get to the cool results. So we shot this video for him and he had to rotoscope himself out of a bunch of shots and camera track them, and I'm like, I know this is the grunt work, so in teaching a 3D masterclass, I would be talking about things that transcend the individual disciplines, at least in first, about the ways in which you should really start to see the world, and analyze how light, shadow, and color and natural composition exist, and then a technical series. If you don't know, first of all, how the world works, why it looks and behaves the way it does, then you don't really understand why you'd make certain choices in trying to capture it on any medium, camera or painting. It really doesn't matter what it is. But you have to have seen it and been aware of it, and then solve the technical issue of how do I preserve it, which leads you into the CG world of how do I recreate it, how do I approximate it. When people are so good at detecting when it's right or wrong, because we are. I didn't know you started out with 3D that early on. Oh yeah. How much do you work with 3D at the moment? I mean, all the time, and in your present day. And I picked up 3D between albums. It was after a tour stint, and I was home, and I had left my record label over creative differences. Namely, a corporation wanted to tell me how to write, and I told the corporation where to stick it, and that was the end of that. Because that's just how I am, man. So I was sitting home, and I was so angry at the music business, I didn't even sit at the piano for 15 months. And I was wandering around my house in a robe like a crazy person, and my then wife, that was my first wife, was like, you can't do this. You're going to turn it into freaking, like, Howard Hughes. So I'd always sort of been interested in visual effects because of Star Wars and all that stuff. So I remember getting like Strata 3D, I think was the program, and Kosa After Effects, and like a very early version of Photoshop, and just started doing that. And it turned out to be a very natural expression for me. So that was a long time ago. But, like anything else, visual effects has got to be in service of something. So, a special effect without a story is a pretty boring thing, said once George Lucas. That was the George Lucas before he was replaced with the pod person, George Lucas. The original George Lucas said that. I'd grab such a master class so fast. Mike, okay. My wallet would... Okay, I got you. All right, well, I never know what people want to know. The C7 sounds nice. Yeah, it's tuned. Congratulations on the wedding. Thank you. She's so great. Anybody who knows her knows why I married her. And the only question is why I didn't marry her sooner. Although, you know what? This is true, because her name is Laura Love. Laura Beth Love is her name. Her last name is Love, which is pretty untouchable. I don't know how you... And it's real. It's not like she was a porn star. It's a real name. And she wanted to change it when we got married. And I was like, don't change it. I lost that argument. Well, no, she keeps it. It's in the name still. But I just was like, it's a better name. You should keep it. I don't care. What do I care? Especially because my last wife kept her name because she, because she was on television, because people know who she is. It would be weird, especially because it's not Danica McKellar anymore. It's Danica Verta. No, it isn't. No. And then she'd have to say, "Oh, no, it used to be Danica McKellar, and now it's so lame." So, but she wanted to change her name. So, anyway. Yeah, like I said, I always assume that I'm either going to get shut down on YouTube or all my shit's going to get deleted or YouTube will disappear or something. So, I don't, that's why I don't develop my channel. I don't develop it. I don't spend any effort on it. So, though there will be times where I'm just doing other stuff. I'm okay. I'm good. I've played that chord 20 times today. I'm going to change it to this. I've been teaching Draco that. Like, that's cool. That's totally cool. There's a time and a place for that. There's a time and a place for everything. Everything has a place. Just need a context. But yeah, but this is why I was developing this app, is because this way all the random shit that comes to mind I can talk about, and I can just say it and put it out there, and then, and like I said, we started into that development cycle. I have to write out. I had to do a flow chart, everything I want. I cannot believe how much money they charge to do apps and what seems to be like very simple development, but they can. So for an individual, I just had to make a choice. I could have an app, or I could have a car and a B3, and we took a vacation, and I just had to make choices because there's not an infinite supply of money. I'm working on it, but the infinite is hard. I'd take 10 digits. If I could get to 10 digits, I think I'd be okay. How much is that? I don't even know. Can I play a short blues? Like, what kind of blues? Like I play like this one. I want to teach Draco just this barrel house stuff because it's so fun. This is so fun to play, and it's easy too. And it's just 1, 4, 5. That stuff's so fun. I want to teach them all that. It's really easy. But it's 1, 4, 5. It's 1, 4, 5. How can you hate that music? I don't understand. Anyway, 1, 4, 5. And it's the same thing with like just 12-bar jazz. That's a whole thing too. That's fun just to learn that. I should check out which format? Oh, Boogie Woogie. Yeah, that's that other thing. But that's so. Especially if it's classic. It's what it is. This stuff the other stuff could kind of be from a lot of eras, but just basic. This is good organ stuff. This is good stuff for the organ. Like that's I think that'll always be a thing you can do. Really easy for me, the unplayable. No, it's really not. This stuff is really it like I said, and a lot of this stuff too. You know, the reason I say it's really easy is that once you sort of get it under your fingers, you know, you sort of realize how it came to be. It didn't start out as an intellectual idea and then was manifest. It's physical. In fact, this is the thing when Draco's been learning Billy Joel, and so much Billy Joel has the octave bass. And it's just because it fills out, you know, because piano's lame generally in a rock kind of thing, and it at least can help it feel like it's moving somewhere, you know. So it just gives it whatever, right? And so he's doing pressure, and he's in that place where he's whatever it is. How's it go? It just gives you a thing, and so you realize, well, it came from a place. It wasn't an idea, and it makes it easier to play. So with this other stuff, with all this, it's like this. It feels a certain way, and it's comfortable. So you can learn it, and then it's also got this other motion to it, and it ends up sounding a lot more complicated than it is. And there are some patterns, like, you know, like if you do this kind of thing, like. Let's see. Okay, there's quite a bit of little stuff going in there, but if you whatever it is, you can. It's a little complicated, but you can work it out. But then it's got a thing to it that's fun to play. All this. It seems more complicated than it is, but it's physical. It's got a physical thing that is ultimately very comfortable. In what context would you just put the? I can't read that. Sorry, it's too far away. What camera and lens are you streaming with? The depth of field is. Oh yeah, it's this is a Sony A7S III, which is a newer camera. It's one of the G series master lenses on it, or whatever it is, and I think it's like a 24-70. It's a f2.8 or f1.4. It's a good little lens. It's a good little zoom lens. It's actually, the camera's really good. I really dig it. And it was with some trepidation. We were looking for a camera to do streaming, and I don't know why, but I just had kind of a little bias against the Sony stuff, but did due diligence and eventually just said, you know what, let's just get it and just see. We'll know. Because we were shooting documentaries on all these projects we're working on. And like immediately I was like, this is great. Looks great. And the 60 and 120 frame stuff is good. Tracking is good. It's a good little camera. I give it my thumbs up. Sony A7S III. It's good. It's well made. And this setup here with this is like brainless. It's got a full-sized HDMI port on it. And I just plugged it right into I got a little Blackmagic. Oh, it's Ultra Studio 4K. Oh, it's 4K. So we're actually in 4K. That's coming out 2K. But it's a good little camera. It works. It works, and it's got a really clever little sensor thing that where you hit a higher ISO number, and where it normally gets really, really noisy, and at about 20 times the base ISO, it's like it resets, and you can have this super high ISO, and it's totally clean, like super low night. We were shooting low light stuff that was insanely low light, like we did it as a joke, but it was dead clean, and it didn't have like a noise suppression funk on it. It was really cool. It's a good camera. Given your reaction, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm just trying to read something. I need a bigger. So here's what happened, right? We were doing a thing, and we were doing a Skype. We had this camera set up, and the eye line was weird because I had the monitor over here, and so they're like, "Can you put the eye line closer to the camera?" So I'm like, "Sure." So I put the eye line on a big monitor over here, but not realizing I was going to have to read text 15 feet away. So that's the only reason if I'm not reading your stuff. Just space your words out and say fewer things. So if I'm not reading, it's just because I just like, okay, there's a lot of words in there I can't intuit. And these are new glasses too. I need to practice that left hand stuff. You can stride and play, yeah. But that you know, a lot of it is like drumming patterns, like you know, like rudiments from drums. That's a drumming pattern. So I'll do stuff where it's, and it's just they're going back and forth, and just because I like the idea that it seems more complicated than it is. I need to for example, about those left hand things with bass on any. Oh well, you know. For me, this is about to become super relevant when I start doing the B3 stuff because I've never done foot pedal stuff. I as a drummer, I can use my feet in all kinds of ways, but I don't, you know, like when I first went and tested this B3, it was all set up and I sat down. I just immediately, instinctively, accidentally put my feet on the pedals, and it was like, oh shit! And this Leslie, for whatever reason, this B3 has a super fat low end. And I was just like, okay, so this is already going to be a thing. Like, where do I put my feet? But I know that my first season with B3 will be back to walking bass stuff on the lower manual, you know? I mean, having that is just that's a skill you should have. On this great video look, yeah, I switched to Sony from Canon years ago. Everybody likes the short depth of field thing, and this is wide open, and it's just obviously you can kind of tell it's just got one light on it. I didn't even backfill it because there was more sun up earlier, but it's a really cool camera. Zoom in maybe. This is fully zoomed in, so I think this is 70. I just don't remember, and I would say that camera is from right here. I'd say that's 7 feet, maybe 6. So. Maybe. Yes, I mean, it's right, yeah. About 6 feet. Hey, Mike, what MIDI controller are you using now? Shit ones. I use shit ones because it doesn't matter, you know? None of them feel good. And mine that I'm developing is, I have to figure out how to get around a copyright a patent thing. Otherwise, mine would be out already. Woodwind's Masterclass, yeah, that's an idea. Everybody's down for that. That's an idea. Although I said, as soon as it's back up, I want to just do the full whack with the London Symphony. I just want to do a thing there. That was going to be my last class. I thought I'd do brass. I do woods and percussion together as a masterclass, actually. So you do like a short bit on one and a short bit on the other and bring them together for reasons. And then I thought, well, strings, I don't know, maybe, but then bring the whole orchestra together. So, but I'm really actually mostly interested in doing that. So I may do that one first, but I just have to work all that out. Is your ultimate MIDI controller still a thing? Yeah, I mean, it's on the bench. I mean, it's in the plans. We know what it looks like. We know how it works. We know what it does. It's sexy as all fucking hell and modular but I'm real, and then it hit a railroad that there's no way around unless I want to compromise an idea, and I don't. And so when stuff like that happens, I'm real fatalistic about stuff, like where I just put it out in the universe and let the universe work it out, and it comes back at the right time the way it's supposed to happen. That's always been how it is for me. It's always worked out well. It's like this B3. I put that in the universe 3 years ago. It took 3 years. And then the way it happened is exactly how the universe happens. A friend of mine mentioned it. a good friend of mine, and his dad had played it years back, said it was the best B3 he ever heard. It was with this guy, and I'm like, oh gosh, I wonder where it is now. And my friend is like, oh, we talked all the time. He's still got it. He's talking about selling it. Well, what? And where is he? Well, he's in Florida. He's in Florida. Well, we just moved to Florida. And he's like, yeah, it had all been customed out by this place, this Keyboard Exchange. I'm like, I've been watching their videos all week. He's like, okay. And I'm like, okay, that's the universe. I just knew it. I just, that's how it goes. It all just lines up like that. So it took 3 years. So with any kind of project, that's kind of how I just look at it. Like, okay, I've put all this out there. I've done all this groundwork. We hit this thing. You know, we've looked at some avenues to go like this, but you can tell right away, when you can force a thing in the universe. You can force a thing. You know, that girl, you can manipulate a girl and maybe get her to go home with you, but you can't keep her because it's a lie. You know what I mean? It's like, so when I hit a certain amount of resistance with a thing, I know, okay, that'll work out. It'll work out in time the way it's supposed to work out. It's a life philosophy, and it's just always worked for me. So that's what I do. So when it comes to that controller, I'm like, well, okay, I could make it happen right now. We could make it happen. It's not going to be right. It's not going to be what it needs to be. So let it play out, man. Just let it see what happens. That's how I do. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool. I mean, it might be a little different now. I mean, if I want to make it integrate with stuff more, but the essence of the controller, the essence of it is the bed. It's the keys. It's the key bed, and the way it reacts, and how playable it is. And then it's built like a fucking tank. That's the other thing. It's really, really well made. And then other features are modular. The idea being that there's a controller bed on the side, which everybody's going to want, but technically you could take it off, and it's got this cool like it swivels for all your controls. It's real ergonomic. And then, but other modules, things like making it plug into VSTs. There's like a keyboard, and then there's a brain that's separate. But then there's this, and you could plug in different stuff. You could plug in sliders, or you can plug in buttons, or so if you wanted to get into a thing and work out, you know, with a certain company or a VST developer, somebody else, a specific control module for their player or you could do that without it having to impact the entire design. You just plug it in. And then this way you can do just a keyboard version of it. You have a short desk, or you can sort of pick and choose some modules. Like, I want 4 faders. I want the 4 fader pack and the 2 buttons pack, or the 2 knobs pack. And then you can just build a little rig if you want and take it live, or bring it home and then disconnect it. And so that's how it works. And we have a bunch of different looks for it. We have like this, like a military look. It looks like it's out in Iraqi desert. And then there's this black, like lacquer black and mahogany version of it. Anyway. I've been using Fatar. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I mean, for this, the one thing about my controller is it is not in any way trying to be a piano weight. That's a totally different. I don't like that. I don't like virtual instruments that are not pianos controlled from a piano hammered key. I don't like it at all. And in fact, this key bed is designed so that, there's it can sense where it is. It's not just pressure. It can sense where it is in the travel and how fast that travel is. So you have an instinct a lot of times, that you could swell something by pushing the keyboard more gently, and it does that. That's the idea. It can sense its position and the rate of travel. So, and they're like synth weight is the idea. They're semi weighted is I think the term. And that's what I prefer for things that aren't piano sounds. Anyway. Draco Verta. Hi, Dad. Hi, buddy. I guess this means you're off your Skype Zoom date thing. You can come say hi, pal, if you want, if you're done. Am I active on any website or forum to get into contact with you? a bit more often than the occasional live stream. Yeah, well, I have a forum. I'm not on a line very much these days, to be honest with you. Not in any capacity. Red Band is our composition forum, and that's well in the hands of some really good guys over there. You know, I mean, you can always email me, but like I said, the only social media I'm using now, and it's occasional, like it's just like, here's a thought, and I think it's mostly just angry political stuff at this point, but is MeWe. I'm on MeWe. I think I have 3 followers because I don't tell anybody about it because I don't really use it. But you can email me. You can find my email. That's easy. I mean, you know, like no guarantees when I'm going to get to it, but you know. Draco in the house. Appreciate all the music tips you share, of course. And then playing lots of music. Do you have any tips or exercise for players in developing the actual piano chops to execute ideas on the fly? So I can talk about this for a second. You know, with Draco, right? He's developing. His fingers are different from one day to the next, literally, in some ways. And after some months, sometimes very different. So with him, just like with any of his other athletic activities, like, you know, he's a baseball player. And I watch very carefully that he doesn't develop bad habits. But other than that, we don't get super hung up in, like, I just make sure all his fingers are on the piano, he's nice and rounded. He's pushing, not keeping his shoulders, keep his shoulders down, keep relaxed. But, you know, but beyond that, I don't obsess with him about the technique, especially because, you know, there are 2 things you're going to do with your hands all the time. You're going to compress and you're going to stretch. And I think in the beginning, you know, working out your stretch, working out a good reach, that's a 10th in my right hand and a 10th in my left hand. Those are very, very easy for me to do. For a lot of people, that alone, just forcing yourself, you know, I mean, even further, if you can, I can't quite do that. I can do a 10th easily. A stretch and also being comfortable right there in a compression are two exercises that no matter to which degree, no matter how often you do them, they're good for you. So that's a little piece of advice there. One second, I'm just checking something because we got baseball in an hour, pal. Come here. But otherwise, in terms of developing your chops, I can't, off the cuff, I could tell you a million composition things off the cuff. Off the cuff, I can't tell you, like, what would be a good exercise. I'm going to tell you, I grew up with Hammond exercises, you know, and I fucking hated them. I hated them with all of the burning fire of 1,000 suns. So I have a standard warm-up that I do, which is good for this. And I wish I had the thing up so I could show you. It's more musical. And it works all the stretches. It works all the stretches, and it's more musical. And as you go through each key, they work them in all kinds of ways. That's my little warm up because it always beats me up a little bit, and it's a really efficient exercise. Yeah, the hand and shit, fucking hated all that stuff. You know, playing to a metronome all the time, constantly, all the time, and doing subdivisions, that's a huge thing. We never play without a metronome to develop that internally. You know, and also not learning things too quickly, taking your time slowly. Here's the thing. You'll play a fast passage differently. You know, I mean, a fast run, that's a different set. Your brain does that. It's not really exactly the same as when you do it slowly. So there's it's sort of a misnomer to suggest that it's just a faster version of something slow, because in your brain, that those events are happening faster than you can. It's almost like that's one pattern, that's another one, that's another one, that's another one. So so like I said, your brain will work it out differently, but still, anything that you're really taking time to do slowly and quietly is great for you. There's a lot of times that you'll do something fast and you'll think it's fast, and then you're forced to do it slow, and you'll find out you're not really in control of it. And quiet, really being able to just, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm just barely kissing the strings. It's a little compressed, so you might not be able to tell. But being able to play very quietly. This is too quiet. That's beyond my ability. But this is so quiet. I mean, I'm barely hitting the bed. But those exercises are so good for your actual control. I mean, anything you want to do, you should be able to play. And it's also better for the instrument. The sweet spot for a piano, you learn it in time where it records well, and it's never super loud, unless it's, Hornsby. That sound, that's damn near, I mean, I'm pounding that bed. That'll do damage after enough time. So, but even to have control at those volumes, being able to have that fine muscle control, volume and tempo, and being able to do it evenly, those pay dividends no matter what kind of stuff you ultimately want to play. Try to play the Final Fantasy main theme. Good exercise. All right. What Hammond exercise? That one, mine isn't a Hammond. It's my own. I just couldn't stand the Hammond stuff. I wish that I had learned this. I only got the. Can't quite read that. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the general. Quieter and slower. Be able to do anything quiet and slow. That's your first thing, because louder and faster will come. Improvising with chords on two hands is great too. Yeah, that's that goes into the composition stuff, and Draco was doing that just today. He was writing the song, and one way that I've been teaching him, which I want to talk about for this idea of teaching music, is I just give him some boundary guidelines. Like you have to do this and you have to do that. Now write a song that does these three things. And just giving him some. It's like a little game, and to help. And at the same time, I'm actually teaching him a vocabulary about harmonic stuff, but this way, it's just like, well, I don't know what works. Okay, I got you. I'll give you a rule. Start on this note and end on this note, or whatever it is. Helping to simplify it with a few things, and just giving a couple of, even though you're going to break those rules a lot, having a couple rules to follow helps. Control is all about being able to relax. Yeah, for sure. And relaxation comes from playing a lot and slowly and one step at a time. Yeah, Draco is just like anybody else. He's been learning these songs, and he wants to play it at speed right away. And without exception, when he learns a piece or a part of a piece too fast, it's sloppy, and it ends up sloppy. And I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I force him to do it slow, and then he can't. I'm like, exactly. You don't actually know this piece. You're not actually in control of it, and it's just going by so fast. You think people aren't noticing it. So let's slow down and be patient and take it one step at a time, and then it's way better. Piano tunes from the French composer, somebody, are great exercises. Okay, good. Drew that. I've had the same piano break 2 times. It's because you're hammering the keys too hard. I mean, like I said, oh, that is one thing I'm going to put down to video sooner. I did a Bruce Hornsby transcription. Oh, this was crazy. Oh, yeah, we haven't talked about this. I haven't been on the air in a while. I had done a transcription of whatever this tune is. Oh, The Way It Is. And suddenly, I hadn't checked on my channel in a while, and all of a sudden I got back and really noticed, and it had like 20,000 views or more. I don't know how this happened. That's a lot for my channel, just so you know. In fact, that's a way lot for my channel. That's all the views. Now, what the fuck happened? Somehow it got partnered onto. Well, I mean, just like it got put in a playlist for Bruce Hornsby tunes. I was like, well, that's great, because that's helping people. That's somebody's going to learn it, and it's a good transcription too. Although what's so funny is somebody actually caught a mistake in it. And it was a mistake that I went back to my notes and I found out that at some point I had written down and then forgot it and started playing it wrong and then put it wrong. It's just one. It's all it is one little part in the solo. I was so mad about it but he caught it and he put it in a comment. I pinned his comment right to the front. Says, that's right, he's right, I was wrong on that. And I called it the ultimate transcription. It really was, except for this one mistake. And I had already known it. I was so angry. But anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up is because people were asking if I had done any other transcriptions. Well, of course, I mean, I do transcriptions all the time. But there was one other tune. It was a Bruce Hornsby tune, again, which I had done. I transcribed it in college. And it was from this, I heard it in the film, it's on one of his albums, but I heard it in the film Backdraft, and it was called The Show Goes On. Yeah, that's the tune. And anyway, I transcribed it, and one day, like maybe a couple months ago now, suddenly it came back to me. I was just sitting at the piano, and the whole thing just came back to me. I hadn't thought about it in 20 years. I don't know how that happened. Nothing triggered it, and I never remember stuff like that. But suddenly, Laura Beth heard it, and she's like, well, what's that? And I'm like, this is this Bruce Hornsby tune that I transcribed in 1991 or something. And I'm like, I don't know where that came from. But anyway, I was like, well, since I have that, so I'm going to put that video up sooner or later here, if you want to learn another Bruce Hornsby tune. And that made me think of that, because that's another one of those tunes that you gotta hit it kind of hard. I especially looked for a video on how to play The Way It Is. Oh, and that one came up. The best free teacher I've had. Well, you're welcome. How much does the actual instrument help you practice? I mean, I only have an electric piano, and every time I play a real piano, I think, man, this is way easier. Well, it depends. So, this piano actually now, because now I go back and forth. The piano I have in Florida is Laura Beth's mother's. She was a piano teacher, and when she died, we got her piano, and I play on it, and it's much harder, and it feels like there's glue. It doesn't bounce back. So being fast on it is hard, and I actually just was playing on it, and I felt like, damn it, I can't get this thing to sing, and I can't get it to do what I want it to. And I had a few days where I just played the shit out of it, and I fucked up my wrist. It's like for a week, it's just like, God damn, it felt like I beat up my wrist. I couldn't play. And so I had this thought, like, this is helping. It's developing a certain thing. Now when I come back to LA and I get in the C7, I just fly, and I only know that because I've been playing this other piano that is slower to respond and requires more work. So it makes a difference. But I think at that point you're at a level of playing stuff that I don't think most people are asking about. I think you're asking about basic performance stuff, and not the minutia, the fine points of, well, it's just like guns. I have my stock guns that's right off the shelf, and then I have a couple of competition guns that are all tricked out. The slide's super buttery, and the trigger's all like, it's got this tiny, hardly any weight, and the reset is like a micron. That's a completely different way to shoot. It's totally different. But in the beginning, it doesn't matter which gun you have. You're not hitting the target. It's all you. It's your problem. You're not accurate yet. So it's the same thing with piano, I think. At the beginning, when you're really trying to work out your chops, I mean, the instrument is not if it's a piano. If it's an electric piano, same thing. It's going to affect you one way or the other. But it's not until you really start trying to work those chops that the instrument becomes a factor. And then you're going to have a combination of personal preferences and also the kind of style that you play. I was brushing my teeth Tuesday evening, and just suddenly, a song that I hadn't played came back. It's crazy how the brain does that. Get your piano regulated. Oh, yeah. It's 2 a.m. here. Yeah, catch up in the video tomorrow. That's okay. We got to get off too, because I got to take Draco to baseball. But I wanted to check in because I was here, and I'm like, I'm in Los Angeles, and the camera's here, and I have a minute, and people have been asking me if I was dead. No, I'm not dead. So we'll do more. I'm here until I've still got a couple more days here, so maybe we'll do another one. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just. Like I said, don't worry about the instrument too much. Not in the beginning. In the beginning, I mean, and a lot of times, no matter what the thing about the instrument is, it's going to strengthen you in some areas and cause bad habits in another. I mean, that's just the nature of it. It kind of doesn't matter what instrument you're talking about. You learn to play that instrument, and so it helps to have to play others as well, if for no other reason than what you can do. You can go to a piano store. You can go to piano stores and play. I hardly have anybody in there ever. I do that sometimes. If I'm somewhere and I'm waiting on something, like I drop Draco off at a practice and it's too far away for me to drive home, so I'll just go find a piano store. It's literally, let's go in and play. Hi, can I play? And, are you looking to buy one? No, I've just got a few minutes. And they're like, sure. So I play all these pianos. That's the thing you can do. And you're like, hey, damn, I like these. What are these? That's something, Boson something, I don't know. Okay. Not to change the subject from music, but has there been any progress on your TARDIS build? The TARDIS, is sitting in the corner of our shop. It's there. It's sitting right there. I see it every single day. And I told John for my birthday, that's what I want this year. We just have to get together and finish. We have to hang the doors and put the inside, then I can do the rest, because that's just... that takes two people, and there's always wiring in it because it's got all the biometric sensor stuff for the key in my hand when it opens the doors. Why it only opens for me and all this stuff. And so it's just a little complicated to hang the doors. We just have to do it. And then the inside it swings down, and there's stuff to get to the roof, and it's got a light in it. That's one of the roundels from the interior. So a real one, actually. So it's probably a couple of days of work, and then I can get back to painting the rest of it, because it needs to be painted and repainted and painted and repainted. That's part of the look. It needs like 30 coats of paint in it, and then you take lacquer thinner to it and you wipe it all down and you paint it again. It's just like the real BBC prop had the shit beaten out of it. So, but that stuff I can all do myself. So we just literally have not had a second free, and it's like 2 years. The poor girl's sitting in the corner. She's really well protected. Got the stuff all over. I see her every single day, sitting in the corners. It's like, God. The lamp is in my office upstairs, so I'm constantly surrounded by reminders I need to get that little girl. And she's going to go into my house. We're actually going to put it in the house. We're talking about where to put it, and I was like, we have these big high ceilings. I think we're going to put it in the fucking house. Well, it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. One of those houses with stuff in it. I love Star Wars and Legacy. Any Legacy news? No, like I said, it's like maybe George Lucas will die, and then I'm not wishing that, but maybe he'll die, and then it'll be easier to put Legacy out. Very helpful tips, by the way. Yes. Do you have a favorite brand of piano? I will tell you that I played the very best piano I've ever played in my life, and I was told it was the best piano I would ever play in my life, and it turned out to be totally true. And it was from the same guy I bought the B3 from. He's got this Bosendorfer in his living room. And I don't know what, I can't even tell you. It's the most amazing piano. It is, every range is somehow the best I've ever heard that range. It's like fat and not muddy. It's somehow fat and clear down here. This whole area right here, it's like it has its own EQ. It works with everything. It's blended, but Everything is clear and fat, and it's so beautiful, sparkly but not tinny. You could do anything on it. I've never come across a piano that was even in the same universe as this one piano. I've played every kind of piano. So right now today, I could just tell you where I've heard the very best piano I've ever heard in almost 50 years. It's this Bosendorfer in this guy's living room. That's just, so I'm going to say it's my favorite. I couldn't believe it. I could have played that. I would still be there playing it. And my buddy said, oh, my dad played that piano. He said, it's the best sound piano you ever heard. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, everybody's got their own flavor, you know. I'm sure it's a very fine piano. And I played it, and I was like, the fuck? How is this real? How is this a real piano? It's so awesome. So awesome. Like one day in your life, you have to check The Odyssey from the band Symphony X. It is a very nice 25-minute epic piece. Okay, it sounds like a setup, but I will. Anyway, all right. Well, I got to take Derek to baseball. He's got baseball. So, but I'll try to jump on maybe tomorrow and or the next day before I skip town. And so if you guys have any other things that you want to ask, make sure that you think of your questions. I know you didn't expect this coming because I didn't frankly expect I was going to be doing it. But always good to see you guys. Stay healthy. Is that what you say now? I don't know what is that the greeting? Like, be well. I don't know what people say to each other now. Don't die. Don't die. Stay inside, or something. Whereas I'll just say, live, go live, do all your living, live. This could be it tomorrow. It's just over tomorrow. Just go live. Go live until we see you next time. Like I said, I'll try to be on maybe tomorrow, whatever. But yeah, all that good stuff. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. See you later. Whatever it is. Have a good night, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, and we'll see you later.